Hello and welcome to the Monday edition of Talking Football. The football leagues are already out, but that doesn't mean the action was over. The domestic cups all reached their climax, and on our show today, we will look at the cup finals in England and France. I'm joined here in the studio by football analyst Ouriel Daskal and I24 News Michael Friedman, who covers the reactions from the press. And on our show today, did Arsenal go 2 in a row? Could Auxerre stop Paris Saint-Germain from winning 3 domestic titles? All this and much more coming up. Let's get started. It was another disappointing season in the Premier League for Arsenal. The Gunners have now gone 11 years without winning a championship, but it's a different story when it comes to the FA Cup. The Gunners took the trophy home for the second straight season, meaning they have now won the oldest competition in the world, more than any other club. Michael Friedman with a story.
Arsenal and Aston Villa met in the FA Cup final, and both teams were hoping to return home with the coveted silverware. The Gunners dominated the match from the beginning and scored in the 40th minute after breaking down Villa's defense and leaving Theo Walcott to score with an impressive half volley. What a great moment for the Arsenal forward, who spent almost a year out due to injury.
No, well, not at all. I've worked really hard, and the manager has shown his faith in me. And yeah, I just want to repay him and the Arsenal fans and their support. And I missed last year due to injury and personal problems, but it was nice to come back with a bounce and in a winning team.
Early on into the second half, Alexis Sanchez then beat the keeper with a splendid goal from outside the box. And just minutes later, the Gunners' captain Per Mertesacker headed in a goal from a corner kick. And Aston Villa's fan Prince William did not look pleased. The match was already won, but in stoppage time, Oliver Giroud added the final goal of the night as he flicked the ball into the net after a cross by Chamberlain. 4-0 was the final score, and Theo Walcott was especially glad to help lead his Gunners.
The team is blessed and we've got a fantastic squad. I've been here for a long time, and this is truly the best squad I've worked with, and I believe that we could go and challenge next year.
Arsenal manager Arsene Wenger also praised his squad for a fantastic performance.
It's very sweet and I'm very proud, you know. It's, if nobody else has done it, it's not so easy. And you always want to achieve different things, but I'm even much more happy with the quality of our performance and the fact that we could win the FA Cup again in a very convincing way.
Arsenal have now won back-to-back FA Cups, and with this record 12th victory, the Gunners can now end the season with at least one piece of silverware.
Ouriel, we start with the compliments. The FA Cup may have lost some prestige, and yet it's a prestigious tournament, more than cups in other countries. The Gunners have won it twice. Good for them. It's impressive.
It's very impressive, I think. I mean, not many clubs can say they've won the oldest competition in the world 12 times, more than anyone in the world. Can they challenge for the championship based on their cup runs? Well, they've got experience at winning right now, so that's good. That's important. You need that. But I think they can't challenge with the current squad. They need another big star, another big forward, someone who can score and assist, just like Alexis Sanchez has done brilliantly this season. We involved in 36 goals. And I think they need a defensive midfielder to play alongside Francis Coquelin, which has been a revelation this season. So they're still having, 2 pieces to complete the puzzle, just like Chelsea did last season. And then they brought Cesc Fabregas and Diego Costa, and they stormed the championship.
Because of the problem with Arsenal, they've become a sort of cup team. They win cups because they can bring their best at a certain moment. But if you have to be consistent throughout the season, that's where they fall. They started terribly this season. That's why they were not even a factor in the championship race.
Exactly. You have to be consistent from the beginning up until the end. You can't let go. And that's what Arsenal has done so many times in the last decade and plus year. They've just,
they play parts of the season.
Yeah, they play part of the season. They let themselves go, in unimportant games, and they missed points and they lost points, and 2-2 draw against Hull at home and stuff like that. So you have to be consistent. You have to be lethal, and you need more players, more Alexis Sanchez like that. His goal.
What a player.
Yeah,
Phenomenal.
that's why you pay the big bucks to a player, you know, to make these things happen.
And now, Michael, what's the press take on Arsenal? Big, it is an accomplishment. I mean, we should have it to them.
Of course, and there was one player, as we were talking about, is the big name in the headlines. The Guardian said Alexis Sanchez inspires Arsenal to win over Aston Villa. So the Gunners played fantastic football, and they showed their dominance throughout the final. That was seen all through the press. Aaron Ramsey said it's a lovely feeling to have. We really wanted it this year, and to get the same feeling that they had last year. Also, their chief executive was very pleased. He said there is a tremendous feeling that is in the beginning of something. So they are looking for the future with this. And obviously, Arsene Wenger, this was a very nice and important win for him. He had so much press against him throughout the year.
Yeah.
So for him to capture this was
Here
very
as
important.
well.
He's not going to leave the club until he wins the championship. It could take a few years, I think, but I think he's really hungry to win the title.
And they feel like they're on track for it.
Yeah, and I think again it's the hardest league to win, and he'll need more more Arsenal.
Yes.
More weapons in his arsenal.
It's going to be very interesting to watch Arsenal through the summer and, of course, next season. The FA Cup, as we have mentioned, is the oldest competition in world football. For more than 100 years during its golden era, the competition had no sponsor, but in the past 2 decades, different sponsors come and go, and now it's time to get used to a new name.
This is called the Emirates FA Cup, and the branding is still the FA Cup, still there, and that's what's important. But in the end, you've got to say, well, you are trading off some of that for money. And you say, well, what is going to happen to the money? The money is going to build all-weather pitches in communities around this country. And for me, that's imperative that we actually... I mean, we are miles behind the Dutch, the Germans in those sort of facilities. We have to do something.
Ouriel, I can understand any uncomfortable feeling from this brand, and I can understand the negative feelings from the fact that Emirates and Qatar, they pay for everything. On the other hand, that's the reality of football. And you know what? It was called the FA Cup with Budweiser up until recently. I hear that, I think Super Bowl and World Series, so that's the way it is.
There's something quite brilliant about it. You know, Qatar and the Emirates buying Europe with money they got from Europe for selling their oil. So it's quite brilliant.
Well, you can say money pours back.
Yeah, you know, they they sold them oil, they got the money, they buy Europe. It's it's not just the name, the FA Cup. It's a bigger problem of European society. When you get, like half of Paris is owned by Qatar and the Emirates buying real estate in London and all that. So
and half of football's big teams in
exactly,
Europe.
and you have like half of football is owned by Qataris and Emirates, and you have Emirates on the shirt of Real Madrid, and Abu Dhabi have bought their naming rights for Santiago Bernabeu. So yeah, the Emirates FA Cup. Let's hope it's not going to stick forever, and next season. After the deal is over, Coca-Cola, FA Cup, or whatever. I don't like it, but as George Dyke said, if this money goes to infrastructure and to teach the English kids how to play some football, it's
finally someone will do that. Michael, the press take on this, negative, positive?
The BBC headlines read, FA Cup get the first title sponsor following a deal with the Emirate Airline. As you said, Budweiser ended its 3-year association, but with them, they were always in with association, and this is a big change for them, having it being with their title. The Football Association signed 3 years with them, and they're saying that there's a little negative outlook. They feel like that the FA has sold out in a way, and people are looking against it.
I have an idea. Next deal, I-24 News FA Cup.
I'd love that.
That would be brilliant.
We could do that.
Yeah.
But the question is, again, the whole Premier League is going there. The Premier League is different than the English League we've seen back in the 80s.
Exactly.
There's a lot of positive aspects to it.
There's a lot of positives and a lot of negatives, and you have to see that the English football is turning into like franchises a bit. You have like American owners and American sponsorship
becoming more
styles.
Americanized.
It's Americanized, and And sometimes you feel that they let go of their roots. I mean, Chelsea has nothing English about it. You know, they have John Terry. That's like English.
Nor does Manchester United.
Exactly. So, you know, actually Arsenal, which for years have been like the French team in the Premier League, they're more English than any other team in England, and including losing important games.
money coming in, definitely. So that's as far as the FA Cup final is concerned. Now it's time to look at the French Cup final. The big money from the Persian Gulf, as we have just said, has not only found its way to English football, it's the same story across the channel. Paris Saint-Germain has opened a big gap on its opponents thanks to the Qatari ownership. It was not enough yet for European success, but at home the Paris club is way above the others. The French Cup win means they have won everything possible on the domestic front. Michael Friedman sums up the final at the Stade de France and looks at what the club is really aiming for in the years to come.
The French Cup final featured Paris Saint-Germain against second-tier Auxerre, and each of the team's fans were showing their support. PSG has many superstars such as Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and despite having a one-on-one opportunity with the keeper, he was unable to find the net. Zlatan couldn't find the target, but when you have so much talent on your team, someone else will. It would be the other PSG striker to score the winning goal in the 64th minute as Van der Veer made a wonderful cross to Cavani, who headed the ball into the net. It was all celebrations for the Uruguayan star. The president of the club had nothing but praise for Cavani, and he also made it clear that despite the rumors of the past few months, his striker is going nowhere.
You know, he scored this season 31 goals. That's magnificent for him, for the club, for me, because I've always supported him. He's really a big talent, and I have a big confidence in him. He will stay here.
The Parisians have won everything there is to win in France this season. The French Cup comes after they already won the French Championship and Super Cup, and now they know it's time to aim even higher.
Next year, I hope we will continue like this, and if possible, that we win the Champions League. That's our dream. That's the dream of all supporters. But even without the Champions League, I think we have realized an extraordinary season. It's the first time a team succeeds like this in France.
The £50 million transfer of David Luiz took a lot of criticism throughout the season, with many saying he's not worth such big money. But as far as he's concerned, his first year in France is just the beginning.
Very happy we're here, so for sure one day before I'm leaving this club, I want to stay here for 10 years, or I don't know how many years the president will give me the contract, but before I go, I want to win the Champions League.
PSG may not have played the best football we have seen for long parts of the season, but if it's silverware that matters, they have all the reasons to be proud.
Michael, for long periods of the season, Laurent Blanc took a lot of criticism here as well. Now it's only compliments for him and his players.
Yeah, he gets the last. Laurent Blanc, extremely happy with his players, his team. The Bleacher Report headlines were all about Edinson Cavani as he secured the PSG treble with Copa de France win over the stubborn Auxerre. So this was a huge win for them. Obviously, Cavani is the superstar. You know, Ibrahimovic, he's been the headlines, always the news is around him. But really, Cavani was the one who prevailed. It was very important for him. And this treble really puts them into the history books. This was a superb season for them. And they were very close to having, you know, the Champions League as well. So for them, they could be very happy with what they accomplished.
And Ouriel, this is exactly the point. How far can they go in the Champions League? Because they're a bit like Bayern Munich. They're expected to win everything big time in France, but they have to take it one step higher in the Champions League. If it's not Barcelona that knocks them out every time,
yeah, it's not as if they're expected to win. You know, if they win, they have to say sorry. Sorry we've won because we are the richest team. It's easy for us to win.
We're supposed to
so,
win.
Yeah, so the pressure on them is to make it in the Champions League, and that's where, you know, you have to be realistic. If you're going to get a tough draw like Barcelona every time, you're not going to go through. You know, so they need to be lucky. They need to keep the squad together. The squad is great. I think there are a lot of talks about selling Cavani. I think he and Zlatan clicked at the end.
And we just heard the president say he is going to stay.
Yeah, and I think they should stay. You know, add another big superstar, Pogba style, Di Maria maybe. You know, there are a lot of talks on that, and you can, you can run with them.
This is a team that can make it Champions League semi-finals, maybe even more, if they're lucky.
If they're lucky, it's about luck. It's about luck in the draw. It's about, you know,
who shows up on that day as well.
Exactly. So it's a lot. It's a lot about luck. They, you know, it's ridiculous that they have to say, "Oh yeah, we're great. We've won the treble. Look at us, we're great," because they're never going to be tested on the domestic front. All right, their big tests is the big tests are on the European front. So they will have to make it in Europe next season.
So the test, as you say, is keeping this squad. Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Edison Cavani, of course, more than everything. Ouriel Daskal, Michael Friedman, thank you very much. We'll see you again tomorrow. And that's it for our Monday edition. Join us again tomorrow for our final show of the season, where we will take a look at the other two cup finals of the weekend, those in Germany and in Spain. Till then, thank you for watching.